Nations kickstart mass COVID-19 vaccination campaign. Boko Haram fighters kill at least 10 in northeast Nigeria. And Israel enters its third national lockdown. Hello and welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito, Ecuador. This is from the south. The European Union has begun its official coronavirus vaccine rollout. In Italy, the first vaccines are being administered at the Spallanzani Hospital in Rome.
It has been painful to witness the defeat that this virus has caused. But today, there is an awareness that it is an important and decisive day. Science and medicine are the only means, together with the civic sense of each one of us, that will allow us to emerge victorious from this tough battle. I say it from the heart. Let's vaccinate.
Now there is a vaccine. Others will come. It will have to be distributed. And let me say this, at Spallanzani, it will have to be distributed to everyone and to all the citizens of the world, free of charge. Because in the face of this universal tragedy, it is truly a universal good that will have to be guaranteed to everyone.
Vaccinations against the coronavirus kicked off in the German capital Berlin on Sunday with the 101-year-old Gertrude Haas, who received the jab at her retirement home.
The virus is very dangerous. One has always heard and also read about the many deaths in other retirement homes and everything. Right? Absolutely terrible. And therefore, it is very good that one is vaccinated against it now. That's a big advantage for us old people here, yes.
Everything was well prepared. Patients are glad that they can be vaccinated. They are quite proud that they get to be the first. And everyone also appreciates that with these vaccinations, we now have additional protection, especially against the severe courses of the disease.
Furthermore, a 96-year-old living in a care home in central Spain became the first in the country to be vaccinated against COVID-19 on Sunday. Spain is aiming to immunize up to 20 million people by June, with an initial target of 2.5 million by the end of February. Under EU deals, the country is lined up to receive 140 million doses, enough to vaccinate 80 million people, which is almost twice the population. Meanwhile, France began its campaign in care homes for the elderly in the Paris suburb of Seine-Saint-Denis, a low-income area hard hit by COVID-19. A 78-year-old woman named Morissette was the first to receive the jab, prompting an applause from the staff. The government is aiming to have an initial 1 million people consisting of seniors, vulnerable individuals and healthcare workers vaccinated against COVID-19 by the end of February in the country's 7,000 nursing homes and related facilities. Mexico has received the second dispatch of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 booster 2 days after launching its immunization campaign. The nearly 43,000 doses arrived in Mexico City and northern city of Monterrey on Saturday afternoon. The country started to administer the vaccine on Thursday after receiving an initial 3,000 shots.
We are working as health sector and government to be able to protect the Mexican population. We started on the 24th of December, as you all know, and we will continue throughout the year, working intensely for the good of the health of the Mexican population. 42,900 doses are currently arriving.
South Africa has recorded a surge in COVID-19 cases as several other countries across the world battle against a new strain of the novel coronavirus. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the country is expected to top 1 million by Sunday, as new infections have increased almost 7 times in last month, burdering the healthcare system. The spike has been attributed to the new COVID-19 variant, which has a higher spreading rate than the first. The new COVID-19 strain was first discovered in the United Kingdom, forcing several countries to ban travel to and from Britain. Japan has banned non-nationals from visiting the country, having detected a new COVID-19 strain amongst arrivals from Britain. The ban will take effect from Monday and is expected to stretch up to January. The Minister of Health said 5 people who tested positive at international airports have been infected with the new COVID-19 variant, first registered in Britain, and all of them were returning to Japan from the UK. Malaysia has reported 2,335 new COVID-19 infections, the highest daily spike to be recorded since the outbreak of the epidemic. The Ministry of Health says at least 235 new cases have been confirmed, bringing the national total to 103,900. 11 of the new cases are imported, while the rest are classified as local transmissions. Meanwhile, the number of people who have died from the virus locally has climbed to 451. Let's take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. In Nigeria, the insurgent group Boko Haram has killed at least 10 people, including 4 security personnel in 3 villages in the northeast of the country. Fighters in 6 trucks attacked the villages of Shafa, Asari, and Tashan Alad in Borno State on Saturday and set fire to homes and public buildings while firing sporadically at residents. The attack forced residents to flee into the bush amid shooting from the militants. In a video released on Saturday, the group also claimed responsibility for a Christmas Eve attack on a village in which 11 people died, as well as the kidnapping of a priest who appeared in the video.
We are calling for the government. Please provide us enough security in our hometown. If not, these terrorists are not going to let us live.
Millions of voters went to the polls in Niger in an election that is expected to lead the West African nation's first transfer of power between 2 democratically elected presidents since gaining independence from France in 1960. According to opinion polls, former Interior Minister Mohamed Bazoum, the ruling party's candidate, is the overwhelming favorite to succeed President Mahamadou Issoufou, who is stepping down after 2 5-year terms. Out of the more than 30 candidates, the main challengers to Bazoum are 2 former heads of state, Mahamani Ousmane and Salou Djibo.
It's also and above all a special day for Niger, who is going to experience, for the first time in history, a democratic transition. I hope that the first democratic transition will be a foundation stone for other transitions to consolidate our democratic process.
I just vote, and I hope that the best one wins. 2 terms have passed. We saw what the state was, and now we will still like to have more enthusiasm and peace and stability, especially, and we would like the Nigerians to get to work.
Polling stations in the Central African Republic have closed and counting has begun in presidential and legislative elections, seen as a key test for the troubled nation. The polls took place after a week of turbulence marked by accusations of an attempted coup, the brief seizure of the country's 4th largest town, and the dispatch of military personnel by Russia and Rwanda to help the beleaguered governments. Final results are expected within the next 7 days. A runoff vote will be held on February 14th if there is no overall majority in the first round. This was the country's first election since a peace deal was signed between the government and 14 rebel groups in February of 2019, although fighting continues. And speaking after casting his ballot in the capital, incumbent president and ruling party candidate Faustin Archange Touadéra thanked Rwanda for sending troops to help secure the voting process.
I sincerely thank President Paul Kagame, the Rwandan government and the Rwandan people for their support in securing this process, which will allow Central Africans to freely choose their leader. Every 5 years, the Central Africans freely choose their leader. The institutions responsible for this mission are the ANE and the Constitutional Court, and the date set is the 27th. That is why all Central Africans come to vote, and I myself came to fulfill my civic duty.
Meanwhile, the head of the UN mission in the country hailed the election as a success, despite incidents in some regions where rebels burned ballot papers and tried to prevent voters from accessing polling stations.
On the whole, we have observed that the process is going on very well, with calm and serenity in Bangui. The population has gone out in large numbers to exercise their right to vote. I think that we should be very happy about this because we know that there were people who did not want this election to take place. MINUSCA and Central African Armed Forces and Security Forces are facing and continue to face those who try to prevent the elections to take place in Bambari, in the west, and in Abril too, where there are people calling on the population to boycott the vote. But in some places, the people have resisted.
Yemen's unity government has been sworn in, closing the curtain on violence and police wrangles in the country's southern provinces. The new administration consists of 24 ministers representing major political forces. All members have taken the oath of office before President Abed Rabbo Mansour Hadi in the capital, Riyadh. On December 11th, after months of stalemate, a coalition of political parties announced they were set to implement security and military mechanisms under the Riyadh Agreement, which led to the formation of this new government.
Today we are facing a new phase that must prevail in brotherhood and association, and to reject division, and directing towards building the state and its institutions, fusing with the people and resolving their concerns, and facing challenges and moving on the path of the future with new Yemen.
Iran is wary of a sinister move by the U.S. to force payments for the Middle Eastern nation's acquisition of a COVID-19 vaccine through its banks. The U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control initially said it did not have a problem with the transfer to a third country, but later set a condition that the money had to first pass through a U.S. bank. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani accused Washington of attempting to freeze the funds, referencing past events where the Donald Trump administration commandeered his country's monies amidst a wave of sanctions.
We want to transfer money from a country where our money is to buy the vaccine, and this country has accepted. It said later that the money had to first pass through a U.S. bank before being transferred. Who can trust people like you? You have stolen our money everywhere you found it.
At least 8 climbers have died in Iran, while several others remain missing after an avalanche pushed them down a mountain north of Tehran. Rescue workers are continuing to search for as many as 12 people who went missing after several days of heavy snowfall and a blizzard in the Alborz mountain range. Several roads have been closed due to the bad weather. Tehran lies at the foot of the range, which has several ski resorts and popular mountain trails. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has offered to hold fresh talks to end a stalemate over new agricultural reforms in his latest push to win over farmers protesting for almost a month against the move. Tens of thousands of farmers have been camping out near several entry points to New Delhi since November 26 against 3 new laws they say will lead to the dismantling of regulated markets.
So many lies are being spread against the new farm laws. Some people are spreading lies amidst the farmers that the minimum support price will be stopped and that the local market will shut down. You can sell your produce anyway and to anyone you like. Wherever you get the right price, you can sell it there. We are ready to discuss every issue of the farmers. We are ready with open heart for a solution.
Let's take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. Israel has entered its third national coronavirus lockdown on Sunday, with much of the economy again shutting down amid surging infection in numbers. The two-week lockdown includes the shutdown of most non-essential businesses, limitations on gatherings and movement from people's homes, and reduced public transit. Likewise, schools and kindergartens will remain open. Israel has recorded over 400,000 cases of the coronavirus since March and 3,222 deaths.
It's true that the government is taking care of its citizens, that it comes from a good place to take care of the people's health. But on the other side, we hear that the people are falling financially. So in fact, besides the coronavirus, besides what is called dying from coronavirus, people are dying because of other things, because of loss of livelihood, because of their mental health. People are going down so, but I respect this thing. Personally, I respect that, and I'm getting ready for the lockdown properly.
I think it's necessary. I'm not sure that we all understand if it's a real must across all the country, but I trust the government knows what it does. It did it very well in the last two lockdowns, and I believe this should be right until we have everyone get a vaccination.
Moving on, 3 people have been killed and another 3 wounded in the U.S. state of Illinois when a shooter opened fire at a bowling alley. A suspect in his 30s is now under police custody. Rockford City Police urged people on Twitter to stay away from the area near the Don Carter Lanes bowling alley, as it was, quote, an active situation and officers were clearing the site. He said 3 other people had been wounded from the gunfire and were being treated at local hospitals.
Responding officers came to the scene. Calls were coming in. There was multiple victims. At this point, it's still an ongoing investigation. We do have 3 individuals that are confirmed deceased. We also have 3 confirmed other individuals that have received gunfire and are being treated at local hospitals. At this point, we have a person of interest in custody. That's pretty much where we're at. The officers are still working the scene. The state's attorney's office has been apprised. We're working with the business owners. They are on scene, providing all cooperation they can to help us.
U.S. authorities have probed an explosion that ripped through part of Nashville on Christmas morning, while the governor requested an emergency declaration from the White House. On Saturday, FBI agents converged on the home of a possible person of interest as investigators scored around 500 tips and leads. The explosion of a motorhome at 6:30 a.m. local time on Friday damaged dozens of businesses and injured at least 3 people. No deaths have been confirmed, but authorities are examining tissue found at the blast site that they believe could be human remains.
And I'm grateful to Governor Lee's request to the White House today to have a national emergency and to get federal help for rebuilding 2nd Avenue once that work begins. One other thing is we still have a curfew in Nashville and will until tomorrow afternoon. This is an active crime scene. I would encourage people not to come to downtown Nashville until that curfew is lifted, and let the FBI and our federal partners do that work.
We can't confirm any individuals or anybody we've identified. Again, as we've mentioned, we have over 500 investigative leads, and we're following up on every one of those. So there are a number of individuals that we're looking at. So at this point, we're not prepared to identify any single individual.
Just a few days after a Brexit deal was struck between the European Union and the United Kingdom, people have already started to feel the effects. Several EU migrants residing in the UK said they have started to experience disadvantages as a result of Brexit. Recently, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson expressed satisfaction with the deal, but conceded that it does not address key matters, especially regarding access to EU markets.
Another thing that is really useful and enjoyable about working in the EU is the collaborative nature. So scientists by our very nature collaborate. These big problems like dementias need the best minds from all over the world working together. And that's very easy within the EU because, for example, we have students and postdocs who go back and forth to labs across Europe. A little bit of brain down here. I also worry about the implications of Brexit for our society. Things have changed and not in a good way. in terms of xenophobia. So sort of hate crimes associated with your race or your ethnicity have gone up dramatically since the Brexit vote. And that's not something I want to see. Even here last week, well, it was a week and a half ago now, a student of color was attacked outside the library, just outside this building, in a racist attack. And that sort of thing has gone up since Brexit.
Meanwhile, London-based restaurant owner Pascal Ausignac says Brexit has already impacted his ability to hire staff, as hospitality workers from European countries have become less willing to move to the UK.
UK, British people are not working in the hospitality sector, so we need to find people from Europe. And actually, because of the Brexit going on, there are better way of staying in their own country than moving to London. Before, it was the fact that they wanted to come to London or to UK to learn English. That was the priority. But now, with the fact that they are not really welcome, they don't want to take this opportunity to learn English in this country.
And it's not only people living in the UK who have been affected by Brexit. Alex Watterson, a British citizen living in Spain, anticipates future challenges as he will be required to apply for a work visa every year to continue working in the European country.
I have a fairly negative view of Brexit. I believe we're better together, as do my family and friends. For me, it means a lot more paperwork. It means a lot more time waiting at airports. And I'm not a supporter at all.
Evacuation centers have been set up in central England after hundreds of people were forced to leave their homes due to flooding. Some 1,300 houses were cleared out after heavy rainfall caused the River Ouse to burst its banks. Residents woke up on Boxing Day to find their streets nearby parks and in some cases their homes already underwater. Forecasters say the bad weather is set to continue throughout the weekend with winds of up to 112 kilometers per hour and more heavy rains. Dog thefts in the United Kingdom have gone up by 250% this year, the worst ever recorded. With so many people after a canine companion over lockdown, police say organized crime is now behind many of the thefts in order to supply a rapidly growing market in which prices for puppies have been driven up. Campaigners say pets are treated as a person's property, so as the law stands, pet thefts are treated as a petty crime. Nearly 500,000 people have signed a petition calling for theft of a pet to have a stiffer penalty.
They're not classed as animals, and therefore the penalty for stealing a dog is exactly the same as stealing your mobile phone. It's just seen as a petty crime. There's nothing petty about stealing a person's loved pet.
I think, unfortunately, Tig, like a lot of female dogs, has been taken so that she can be bred for puppies. And the horrible thing about that is that they don't get proper veterinary care. They don't look after these dogs. They rinse them for as many litters of puppies as they can because all they see them is pound signs.
And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also be sure to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I am Estefania Bravo. See you next time.